Hello and welcome back to Liam's Library. I'll be putting what I just reviewed away, Wake in Fright, by Kenneth Cook. Goodbye. Oops, I fucked my lighting. Excuse me. To talk about what I promised you that I would talk about this Friday just passed. I didn't get to it, right? I've been a bit busy. Been a little upset, to be honest. But that's neither here nor there. So let's talk about what we came here to talk about. Let's talk about... I always say it like Nostalgia Critic says, it's Stephen King time. So, here we go, my friends. This is called Stephen King's Night Shift. This is his very first short story collection. And on my channel, my friends, I have talked about this before. I have reviewed I Know What You Need, which is a short story in this, which was right at the start of my channel, when I didn't know how to do autofocus and I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, right? I'm a bit better at it now, I think. Maybe a little bit better. And one thing I've always wanted to talk about is the short stories. Sometimes they come back. Now, Night Shift contains some really cool stories, man. You know, we got Children of the Corn, we got Trucks. You know, we've got the prequel and the sequel to Salem's Lot. Excuse me. But what we have Sometimes They Come Back. And I remember when I was in high school, I picked up not an autobiography, but just like a book of interviews on Stephen King, where he was talking about what he was trying to do with Sometimes They Come Back. He wrote 3 novels. He wrote The Shining, he wrote Salem's Lot, and he wrote Carrie. I mean, he'd written the Bateman books while he was in college, for 4 other novels, which never got published yet. At that time, sorry. And he was bringing out his first short story collection, and he scrapped a lot of the stuff he'd written over the years. You know, certain short stories of his would appear later in Skeleton Crew, his second short story collection, like The Reaper's Image. He wrote that when he was 18. This stuff was written in his 20s, even though this is his first short story collection. So, now what he was trying to do with this story, there's a story in here called Sometimes They Come Back. And to me, the title is just fantastic, right? You know, any author will tell you, don't write a title first. Write the story first. The title comes after, you know. Create your characters, create your atmosphere, create your plot, create your story. Work out if it's a character piece or if it's narrative driven. But I also like the sound of a good title. So, you know, when I was younger, I'd go through the contents pages of Stephen King's short story collections, and I'd see what sounded cool, what sounded like a horror story, because I was just all about the dark shit. And Sometimes They Come Back just gets your attention, doesn't it? Sometimes They Come Back. Who are they? And where do they come back to? And why do they, right? So this story, now, I have taken notes. Now, I'll take notes when I do a movie review. I normally don't take any notes when I do a book or a short story review because I've read these so many times. I'd rather just discuss it with you. But Sometimes They Come Back, I think it was worthy of me just writing down a few things. Now, like I said, I read this when I was a kid. Like, literally, before I was even a teenager, I was reading this book. And then in my teenage years, I read it over and over. And then in my 20s, I read it over and over. And there was always just something about it that just seemed to stick out as opposed to the other horror stories in here. There's probably only 3 stories in here that aren't horror. The rest are fucking here to scare you, and there to horrify. Sometimes They Come Back is right at the top of that list. So, it starts off with 8 sentences just describing our main character. Literally, 8 sentences. So it's like, this guy comes home, he's just gone for a job interview, his wife's there to hug him, she hugs him, he got the job, right? Literally, that much at the top of your page. That starts you off on the story. Then we have our paragraph spacing. But that night he had the dream again. And he woke up in the darkness with a scream behind his lips. And you're like, wait, what? So, okay, this nice school teacher just got the job. Wait, but he had the dream again. So you already know you're in horror territory. You know you're in young Stephen King, scare the fuck out of you territory. But maybe not scare the fuck out of you, but you know you're reading a story, what scares Stephen King. And we've all, you know, if you've read King, you know that all he does is write his fears. You know, he's Wes Craven to the max in that sense. So, like I said, that's how it starts. So straight away, I love that. Now, what I always wonder, what would the story be like if Stephen King wrote it today? Now, if any of you have like followed my channel or read Stephen King your whole life, like I have, you'd know that there's a big fucking difference between the way Salem's Lot is written compared to the way, let's say, Lacey's story is written, or the way From a Buick 8 is written, to the way Christine was written. He would like he would talk more about certain things at certain times, and in his older age his setup seems way more important. In his older age he seems to give you a good 30-40 pages of characters so you care about them, and then he'll fuck with you with the scary stuff. Now, I don't know if that's better or not, because when you read his older stuff, you still care about these characters. You're on board with them, but he starts the scary shit straight away. He puts you in the drama instantly, and the essence of drama is conflict, and there is a lot of conflict going on. Instantly on page 1, you are getting fucked with. Now, so like, I'm gonna break the plot down for you. There is a man named Jim Norman, and he's a school teacher who has had a nervous breakdown. Now, when he was a child, he used to live in this small little town in Maine. He had an older brother named Wayne who was 4 or 5 years older than him. Now, every day they'd walk to school or walk to the library, but they'd walk together. His big brother was very protective of little Jimmy, but they'd always get like picked on by these older kids, right? Now, Stephen King, the ultimate Stephen King cliche is his bully angle, but this is one of the first ones. This was written before It. It was written before Stand By Me. The Body. So I reckon this is his original bully story. And it's the supernatural bullies. So, I mean, he's got bullies in Dreamcatcher, It, The Body, but sometimes they come back, right? So these bullies are always picking on them. But this time, and the plot is told in the form of a dream, Jim, as an older man, is having a flashback to when he was a child, and this is what's fucked him up for life. He's walking with his older brother, Wayne, and they've got 4 cents in their pocket. That's right, they are going to the library, and they're going to pay their overdue fees. Excuse me. Just like the library policeman. Oh, we all know how that turned out. So he's walking with his brother Wayne, and there's an underpass coming up. Now, I don't know if that's what he calls it, an overpass in this. Now, I'm from Australia, we call it an underpass, and you walk through it. But in this one, there's a train track trestle going through the middle. But the tough guys, the bullies, they're not waiting for him on the other side of the tracks this time. They're waiting for him in the darkness. And this time they mean business, and they start beating the fuck out of Jimmy's older brother. And like Jimmy's like, no, the bullies are in there. But they go in there anyway to cross to the other side because big old tough brother Wayne doesn't want to go around. But these kids are older and they're tougher. They're in their fucking late teens, early 20s, and they beat the shit out of Wayne. And they rob him. And Jimmy's older brother Wayne says, like, run, Jimmy, run. Because this is some serious shit. These guys are bad guys. They're not your normal bully stereotype, like, Henry Bowers from It. He's willing to kill you. These ones are willing to fucking kill you. They are some really dangerously, completely disturbed bullies. And as Jimmy's running away, he looks back and he hears this vibration of a train, because at the same time this horrible robbery is happening of these 2 young children, a train is coming through the underpass. And as Jimmy looks back and hears the roar of the train, he sees both of these bullies, one each, stab the shit out of his brother Wayne, once right in the groin and once just in the heart. That's his childhood. He's never told anyone. He never told a therapist. He never told his parents, even though, Wayne's body was found. He never told his wife. He's had a breakdown at school. Now he's a school teacher in Maine, right? So now here we are with Jim Norman is his name. And he has a bit of a problem with his temper and with his emotions. I mean, I just told you what happened to him in his childhood, so you can imagine. Now, he starts at this new school, and all of his classes are pretty cool. He's not really getting much trouble from any of his students. He's enjoying himself. Now, I've nearly talked more than this story actually even discusses the plot. It really gives you like half a page, it's told you this. Next half a page, it's told you this. It explains a lot in a really short period of time. This is a short story. If King wrote it now, I reckon it would be a novella. Oh, God, I'd love to see him do it. Sometimes they come back in a novella form, but it's never going to happen. So let's get back on track. Jim Norman, the school teacher, right? But he's got one class that is kind of fucking with him. It's I won't say remedial, it's like your fast track students. You know, your high school jocks, the ones that are just there to sort of pass, they're there to play sport and, but they need their kind of low English grade. And Jim Norman's their teacher. It's the last period of the day on like a Thursday or something. And he's got this high school jock who's giving him a lot of shit named Chip Osway, right? So, Jim Norman's in class. This guy Chip, he ends up flunking Chip because Chip's cheating, right? But then all of a sudden, right, he's got this a girl in his class, and she's pretty spot on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's actually not giving him a hard time, and she's passing her classes quite well. Then the principal comes up to him on a day just before he's about to start class and hands him a folder and says, "You've got a new student." He's like, "Listen, I've got 23 kids in there already. I've got a heavy caseload. I don't need another fucking student." And the principal's like, "Well, you don't have an extra student because this girl died over the weekend." He's like, "Oh, what? Fuck, he remembers her. You know, she was passing his class with flying colours. I can't remember the name. Shit, it's not important." But this guy in the folder is taking her place. So Jim Norman, the teacher, opens up the folder, and what does he see? He goes through a couple of bits of pages. This guy's a bit of a naughty guy, a bit of a bad guy. And then he goes to the file photo. And it's one of the people that killed his brother. It's one of the teenage punks that killed his brother like 18 years ago. But in real life, this guy being in his fucking late 30s by now, he'd be older than Jim. But he's not. He's still got the exact same face. He's still a fucking teenager. And Jim walks into this classroom, and there he is, sitting right in front of him, looking at him, smiling, as if they're sharing a secret, as if they've got something between them, which of course they do. There's no mistaken identity in this story. What's happening is these 4 kids that murdered Jim's brother when he was a kid, they all died in a car crash back then, like just after they murdered Wayne. And they're all coming back from the dead to get revenge on Jim just because he's unfinished business. Now, think about that. Now, there's revenge stories, there's Frankenstein stories, there's zombie stories, you know what I mean? Now, this is just a school teacher whose brother was unfortunately murdered by some bad guys when he was a kid. Now, for some reason, through some, like, demonic loophole, these fucking teenagers are coming back from the dead just to kill Jim. Just to fuck with him. And they're all still teenagers, but one. So 3 of them come back from the dead. One of them like lived to lose an old age, and he's not actually a part of it. But it just kind of adds to the realism of it. Now, let's talk about the title. Sometimes They Come Back. In the book, in the short story, when Jim has his dream and wakes up screaming the second or the third time he has it, his wife's like, what? Like, what's up with these dreams? He's like, "Oh, it's just something that happened to me when I was a kid. Sometimes it comes back, that's all." That's one meaning of the title, Sometimes They Come Back. Now, let's think about these bullies who have come back from the dead for him. Sometimes They Come Back. That's 2 meanings of the title. Now, what happens is, right, I am going to give this away a little. These teenagers kill what's most precious to him in his adult life, and they come for him with knives, and they start murdering people big time. Every time someone dies in his class, the next bully pops up, and in the end, he's got all 3 of them in his class, and he's got to do something about it, doesn't he? So, there's something about Stephen King's old short stories where he's always talking about demonic possession. He brings it up like as if it's something you can just read in a book. And so our main character, Jim, does. He gets a book on demonic possession and finds a way to get the help of a demon to rid these 3 monsters from his life. He sets himself up in the high school, draws a pentagram on the ground, gives both of his fingers or thumbs, and throws them into the pentagram, and the demon is really happy with that. And he puts on a CD player with train music, just like the same day when Wayne was killed and the train is coming through the underpass. These monsters, they come there to kill Jim at the high school. And his older brother, who's still like 12 years old, comes walking out of the pentagram and takes these demons from our world back into the afterlife. And all seems well, right? No. This is like a 30-page short story, I think 29 or 31 pages. After he's vanquished these demons that have come after him, he goes to leave the high school. He erases the pentagram, he cleans up, and he goes walking down the stairs. And then something brushes his arm, and he turns around, and like the darkness in the hallway in the high school just seems to retreat for a second. And he feels the presence that something was right there, right behind him. And he thinks to himself, wow, just like the book said, like, you can get these things to help you. You can get them to do your bidding. Maybe sometimes you can even get them to go away. But sometimes they come back. Jim Norman walks out of the door wondering if the nightmare is over after all. And that's it. It ends right there. Now, there is a movie. Sorry, so like I said, so that's like 3 meanings for Sometimes They Come Back, which to me is perfect for a title. I mean, he could have called it, Back from the Dead or fucking anything, but Sometimes They Come Back, and just to give us what Jim Norman is going through in a dream way, in, these monsters and in the demons that he uses to vanquish them. That's really clever use of a horror title. And I fucking love that. A lot of the times I will write my title before I write a story, and I'll have fun writing the story. It might not be no award-winning fucking story, but you have fun with it. And Stephen King definitely had fun with this, man. He had a lot of fun with this. So, I think that's all I'm going to say. There is a movie, and there are 3 sequels. Now, the first movie stars Tim Matheson as Jim Norman, and I really liked it. Me and my brother used to watch it all the time. At the end, when the dead brother comes back, he's actually all covered in white light, and he's there to vanquish them, vanquish the demons. In the short story, it's not Wayne at all. It's the demon pretending to be Wayne, and he's always going to fuck with Jim. I don't think Jim ever gets to escape that, but there's no sequel in Stephen King written format anyway, so we'll never know. But there is a movie called Sometimes They Come Back. There is a movie called Sometimes They Come Back Again. There is a movie called Sometimes They Come Back for More. And there is a movie called Ice Station Erebus. Now, a lot of people out there wouldn't know that that's part 4 of Sometimes They Come Back. It is. It's got a pentagram on the front, it's covered in snow, and it's got a hand coming out of the pentagram. That is part 4 of Sometimes They Come Back. And it's slow and boring as shit, and I used to watch it as a kid just because I knew it was based on characters created by Stephen King. Terrible, terrible. But if you want to laugh, watch Sometimes They Come Back Again. The second one. It's like, it nearly breaks the 4th wall on how funny and fucking stupid it is, but there's a lot of cool horror in it. But, forget all that. Pick up Night Shift, flip to Sometimes They Come Back, and have a great time with it. 31 or 29 pages, and it's fucking scary, and you feel like you're living through what Jim Norman is going through. So that's it. That's it for today. I am not going to tell you what I'm going to do next because I myself don't know. I think it's about time I maybe did like a David Morrell book again, or Tabitha King, or a Peter Straub. Like, just looking at all my books. There's lots I could do. I might even do The Howling. Fuck knows. Let's see. Hey, leave a comment if you want me to review something, man. I've got so many books, it's not funny. But like I said, like, subscribe, ding the bell if you want notifications. Read some great books. Watch some even better fucking movies, and please, especially right now, look after one another. Bye.